So for those who are joining now, welcome again. My name is Maria Giuffrida. I am from Trust IT and Compla, who are the coordinators of HSbooster. HSbooster is a project that's organized this event. There are also other partners, of course, in this consortium, and I will name them and introduce them later on. Just as an initial announcement, I just want to inform you that this is a second part, let's say, of a series of webinars, two webinars that we have entitled Boosting Standardization in R&I Projects, Achievements, Experiences, and the Road Ahead, because the objective of these two events was and is today to share more about what HSbooster does, share some examples of experts and projects that they have achieved via the interaction given through HSbooster, and also discuss more in detail some new services and resources that we are building and that we maybe didn't touch too much into the details in the previous event that we had in January. So just as a short recap, HSbooster is a EU-funded project. We started in April 2022, and we will end in September 24. So we are almost at the end of the project, and our aim is to support EU-funded projects from any type of program. So not only Horizon, that gives name to Horizon Standardization Booster, but also Digital Europe program or Erasmus. Any type of EU-funded program is eligible to apply to receive a support from one of our experts, because we have a full of experts in standardization in different fields that we assign to a given project to help them achieve results, let's say, in standardization and improve the overall impact of their project. As I was saying, our previous event where we, gave details on what HSbooster is doing and some results happened on the 18th of January. In these slides, you will see the link and the recording to the previous event, so you can catch up on whatever we already discussed. And all the links that I'm showing now in the slides will be available on the website after the event, but I will also put them in the chat as soon as finish projecting them. I have a file with all the links that are in my presentation. Let's have a look at today's agenda. So there's a short introduction. That's what I'm giving right now to the event. Then we will have a panel discussion, 30 minutes discussion with a few projects and experts that already had experience with HSbooster and will, go deeper into various type of services that we're offering. And then we'll have two presentations, one from René Lindner, which is one of our experts, and he has developed a useful tool that everyone can use to have preliminary guidance on standardization. It's named the Standards Orientation Tool, and he will go through it later in the event. And we will close with another presentation by Harsh Pandit from DCU, who is a partner of the project. The other partners that you will see in the slides are Dansk Standards, SGS, University of Belgrade, apart from DCU and Trust IT. And then we'll have a Q&A. The Q&A is scheduled at the end of the event, but it's only, for organizational purposes. In reality, I really welcome you to ask your questions whenever you want. Okay, so don't wait until the end. Whenever you have a comment or a question, you can either write it in the chat or use the Q&A box that you see in your screen. Okay, feel free to do that, and we'll pick up the questions whenever possible during the event. And we'll close by 4 p.m. So before we discuss with our guest the experiences of HSbooster so far, let me just give you a very quick overview of the most relevant services that we are offering. The first one is a one-to-one consultancy. So as I was saying before, if you are a project and you want support in understanding what you can do in standardization field, you can apply on our website. And based on your field, we will assign an expert to you. And the expert will organize a series of meetings, could be 2, 3, 4, to discuss your needs and provide you a report, with his or her recommendations. Normally, in the basic form of this consultancy, the consultancy lasts for 3 months. 3 months meaning that you have, more or less one meeting per month, and it accounts for normally two, sorry, two 2 days effort from the expert point of view. From the project point of view, the effort is just to attend the meeting, prepare the material that's needed for the expert and discuss with the expert. However, we have also noticed that sometimes more time is needed, both in terms of length of the service. So maybe you need more than 3 months and you need more than 4 meetings. So it's also possible to extend the length of the service. And so far we've had also experiences of services where, they last even 5 or 6 months. And of course, the effort from the expert point of view was more than 2 days, was maybe 4 or 5 or 6 days. Okay, this is all possible, and you just need to inform us when you feel the need that the service is extended. But beyond the one-to-one consultancy, we are also piloting, because HSbooster is a pilot, two other type of support. One is the SEN workshop agreement support. So we help you develop a SEN workshop agreement, and we'll discuss in a few minutes what a SEN workshop agreement is with our guests. For you, it's just important to know that we can support you in financially paying for the fees that are needed to organize this type of event and to write this type of document. We can provide technical support to attend the meetings and prepare, the output of the SEN workshop agreement. And we can also help in dissemination to promote the work that you are doing in this. So this is a specific type of support given to a specific project that wants to develop a SEN workshop agreement. But also a new type of service that we are offering is called deep dive workshops. In this case, we organize together with our experts a series of events, on average 3, that focus on specific standardization topics in a given field, and they target a cluster of similar projects. So it's not anymore one-to-one, it's from one or more experts to more projects. So is organized to be delivered for a cluster of projects in the same field. And we have already our first experiences in this, and we'll present them very soon. Just to conclude, before we go to the next part of the webinar, I want to promote to you 2 important events that we're having in the next 2 weeks. One is Women in ICT Standardization. It's an event organized with Stand ICT project and other standards project. You can register and attend. We're going to talk about standardization priorities and role of women in this field. And then we have on the 12th of March instead an event on 6G research and vision. This is a deep dive, okay, so one of the new services that we are offering to projects in the 6G domain. And this is the first of the 3 webinar series of events that we are organizing with them from March until May. Okay, all the links that you find in the slides, I will put them very soon in the chat. I don't know if you have any questions, so let me have a look. So I see people who are presenting themselves. You can continue, okay, to introduce yourself. If you have any questions on what I presented so far, feel free to do them, to ask them. In the meantime, let me go on, and so we can already, pass to the practical part of the event that's discussing, you know, things that I've very briefly presented. And so let me introduce the people that will be in the panel discussion with me. We have Maria Navarro and Marga Sanchez that represent Nebulous project. Maria is the project representative and Marga is the expert assigned to Nebulous. Then we have Vilma Dukman and Dejana Milinkovic representing HCycle project, respectively the project representative and the standardization expert. Then we have Tanya Marcos from UNE, who will tell the experience of project value waste and another project she's involved in, that's NeoGiant. And then we'll have Diana Soeiro that will present about new service with Nature Network cluster of projects. So let me close my screen so that people can see all my guests. So welcome everyone. Just a few rules, let's say, for the people that are looking at us to know. This is a panel discussion, so we'll have a conversation with our guests with short answers, okay, to the questions that I will ask them. So the first question I want to ask is, I want to start with the two projects that are represented here, Nebulous and HCycle, and ask both Maria and Vilma to tell us a little bit about your project needs, why you applied to HSbooster, you know, and what was your motivation initially. And I know that if you need, you can use some slides that I will project for you. So let me start with Maria. With the Nebulous. So the floor is yours, Maria.
Okay, thank you, Maria. Do you want to project the slide I prepared for, just to put the people a little bit in context, just a brief presentation of what is Nebulous and what we are doing? Yeah, here, thank you. So Nebulous is a meta operating system for brokering hyper. I was reading. Never mind. Nebulous is a meta operating system for brokering hyper-distributed applications on cloud computing and continuums. What we are basically doing is aiming to revolutionize cloud and fog computing brokerage through the development of advanced provisioning tools, which is all based on a unique meta operating system. Okay, so the key features are here shown. Are basically a unified security for cloud computing continuums, a smart contract service level agreements monitoring, intelligent applications, workflows, and data stream management, multi-criteria assessments of available offerings, and new tools for describing application requirements and data streams. Why we were interested in the Horizon standardization booster? No, Maria, do you want me to say some words about it?
Yes, indeed.
So within the project, we had a task on standardization activities that our objective was to, rather than creating new ones, because this is a research and innovation action, so it's not really, it was too ambitious for us, but to contribute to existing ones, to forge the convergence, and also in some way get also information of the standardization that are applicable in our project. So I asked for the service because I'm not an expert in standardization. I was pretty much lost. So my most important concern was, how can I get involved in the technical committees of the different standardization bodies that are to be found? And this is mainly why I applied, and I found in Marga a priceless help and support that was very, very useful. Well, we will explain it later, I think. And this is, in summary, the needs for my project. And this is the consortium of Nebulous, in case somebody was wondering who we are.
Thank you.
It's coordinated by Eurecat, by the way. I belong to Eurecat.
Thank you. Thank you, Maria, for introducing Nebulous and, you know, your initial needs that were, just to recap, to engage with relevant TCs and you know, working groups in the field of the project that is on, Cloud Edge and IoT continuum. These are information about Nebulos. Maria, you can also put this information in the chat if anyone in the audience wants, to navigate about Nebulos website and channels. And we also have another project here that's HScycle. So Vilma, if you want to instead tell why you applied and what's HScycle about, it will be appreciated.
Sorry. Thank you for the introduction. My name is Vilma Ducman, and I'm from Slovenian National Building and Civil Engineering Institute. And today I am representing HScycle project. Here you can see the scheme for the project in HScycle project, which is entitled Integration of Underutilized Ashes into Material Cycles by Industrial and Urban Symbiosis. We are exploring potential use of various ashes. Most probably you know that coal ashes can be used for as an additive to the cement or in concrete, but there are many other ashes which cannot be used directly in the concrete or in construction sector. So, for example, these are biomass ashes from various power plants where wood or other biomasses is used as fuel, then municipality incineration ashes from incineration plants for household waste, then sludge ashes from incineration of sewage sludge. So all this material, all these ashes are now waste and cannot be properly used in the construction or anywhere else. But these ashes contains also some useful nutrition like phosphorus for the sludge ashes, or like zinc in the municipality solid ashes. And the first step in our project is to extract valuable components. After that, the rest of ashes shall be used in other applications. We are targeting mostly building sector. So we will verify the potential use in concrete, mortars, artificial aggregates, alkali activated products, clay-based sector. And for all these, we also plan to perform pilot production, industrial pilot production, or at least semi-pilot production. So if I try to answer also why we are using HSbooster services. So from the beginning, if I'm honest, we didn't expect a lot. We were somehow contacted by the representative from HSbooster. We didn't expect a lot because we are from the institute where we are really informed about standardization. We are notified body in construction sector. Use of standards is obligatory. But then we decided to see what is going on here. And they made the contact with Miss Diana. She will present herself later on. And I have to say that we are really satisfied from the services, and also that we got some information which we didn't expect. I have to admit, we didn't know anything, but we thought we know that we knew at that time. So it's always room for the improvement. So I'm happy we applied for it.
Thanks, Vilma. So as you can see, we have two different cases, two totally different topics. One project that was, in need of guidance because of no experience with standardization, that's Nebulos, and one project that instead thought they knew already much about standards, but still found some value, in speaking and discussing with the experts. So we picked these two examples also because they are pretty different, at least in their initial status. And so as a second round to this discussion, I would like to leave the floor to the experts that have been already mentioned to tell us. So this question is with Marka and with Diana, to tell us how you conducted, your consultancy with Nebulos, and then with HScycle, what you suggested, and, what was your work and the activity that you did together. So I will start with Marka for the work with Maria and Nebulos.
So many thanks, Maria, and many thanks everyone for attending the webinar today. So yes, talking about Nebulous is actually a very challenging and ambitious project which aims at advancing cloud continuum by developing this novel meta OS and a platform to unlock the potential of edge, fog, and also multi-cloud resources to meet these low latency requirements, which is demanded by many applications across the different sectors. So the project actually designed very good strategy in order to test and validate the proposed solutions via these 5 large-scale pilots across different sectors, such as energy, mobility and logistics, agriculture and crisis management, to validate the solution, but also to tackle the potential technical challenges in terms of interoperability and security. So the standardization approach that was recommended to Nebulous, and also taking into account that they could rather go for providing recommendations or relevant insights rather than proposing new work items in standardization groups, was focusing on these challenges. So in terms of interoperability within the sectors, but also across the sectors, and focusing on the data formats and also communication protocols, and also following this security by design approach, which was also a very key element in the overall architecture to be designed. So to this end, the main recommendations were focusing on this, and the idea was to provide existing relevant standards which were of relevance for them in order to design the solution, but also provide a huge overview of standards which are under development, so they can provide relevant insights once the pilots were conducted in order to check interoperability and many other potential challenges. So that was the overall approach. And as for example, we provide good overview of the family of standards related to ISO JTC1, the Steering Committee 38, which is focusing on cloud computing and distributed platforms, and also Sensenelec, which is also collaborating with ENISA in this case, the JTC 13 group, which is focusing on cybersecurity and data protection. And also, as Maria mentioned, it was provided sort of guidance on how to engage in these technical committees via a fast-track mechanism such as the Zeng-Warsaw Agreement, or establishing a project liaison, and providing also the guidelines, which are well, self-explanatory and so on. And I have to say that in this case it was a success story, as Nebulous did very well, and now is in the process of finalizing this liaison with Sensenelec for the security aspects. So this is a successful story here. And also it was provided some recommendations about other relevant working groups from the open source or industrial associations, which were very active in developing the standards, particularly those that were very aligned with Nebulous objectives. So, for instance, we can mention here W3C and the social ontology. So very likely after the pilots, they can provide some potential extensions to this ontology. And also it was recommended to participate in an active way in some of the most relevant working groups that we identified from IoT Alliance, for instance. And here an important task that I would like to highlight is to start at the beginning of the project with a mapping between the consortium partners, which are already participating in standardization activities, or other open source or industrial associations, because these tasks really facilitate the overall process of standardization in order to identify potential groups and technical committees of relevance. So that's the experience.
Thanks a lot,
Thank you.
Marga, for your exhaustive explanation, and also for providing already some insights and recommendations based on your experience. So for the audience, what I would like to highlight from your speech is basically there was a benefit for the project to receive very easily a bunch of information that you provided as an expert that in case they didn't apply, they should have gone and found on their own. So it was, time saver. And also it was important because you gave suggestions on how to engage with these technical committees. I also want to highlight that HSbooster, for those who are interested, can also pay for membership to technical committees or SDOs. In case projects don't have the budget to do this, we can provide this, reimbursement for buying the standards or entering committees for the people, of course, that want to enter the committee. Let's now move to instead Diana and the ASH cycle initial situation where they already had experience in standardization, but what did you discuss and what was your activity, Diana, with Vilma?
Thank you, Maria. Thank you very much. First, it would be really maybe useful for all participants to clarify that standardization of the project results does not mean by default development of standards. This is not true, because standards are not the only deliverables of Sensenelec. And maybe project ASH cycle, it's definitely a very good example how we came to the best solution with one comprehensive approach. My recommendation to project, to Vilma, included activities in several directions. First was the extension of already existing standards for ASH. Currently, there are several European standards that refer to different application of fly ash as ingredient in construction products. The scope of these European standards could certainly be expanded, but main limitation for the acceptance of this proposal by ASH cycle was the fact that amendments to the European standard is procedure that lasts almost 6 years, which exceeds the time frame for completing the task within the project. Then my second suggestion related to development of SEN technical specification. This could be really useful because technical specification can be used, for instance, where European standard is not feasible or not yet feasible, especially for the purpose of publishing the results, which may support the development or progress the European market. And the main advantage of technical specification is that the development process lasts less than 3 years. And once published, technical specification can be easily transferred to European standards. And within this recommendation, I suggested also inclusion in the work of 2 relatively new technical committees dealing with the circular economy and recovery of waste materials. And finally, my recommendation, for which I advocated the most, was development of SEN workshop agreement. CVA is really rapid way to standardization of the project results, and Vilma has a very high level of knowledge and experience related to standardization, so I can say that we understood each other very well and quickly, and I'm sure that she will continue towards workshop agreement.
Thanks, Diana. So let's see what the projects did with the recommendations from Marga and Diana. So I'm going back to Maria now to tell us, to update us on after the consultancy with Marga, what did you carry out and are you carrying out now in Nebulous?
Yes, so, bueno, Marga introduced a little bit this question before. So we explored all the options that Marga had offered us, the guidances of the options that we had in front of us. Since we didn't have a prominent presence of partners, including Eurecat, in the standardization bodies that were of most interest for us, bueno, because we are very big and we have presence, but maybe not in those committees that are relevant for Nebulous. So we decided to go for within something to start with that was not so complicated and was something that we could easily reach, was a project liaison with the Senelec, with a technical committee, the number 13, which is about cybersecurity or data security. No, because we are in the project we are developing. We are applying cybersecurity for one of the components, the artificial intelligence anomaly detection component, and we applied for a project liaison, and we were confirmed, we were approved. And now we are in this bureaucratical process of, I sent the papers filled in to them again, and then I'm waiting for the response. And for the moment, this is I cannot give more information because this is the stage we are in this moment.
Okay, I think of course it takes time also, from a procedural perspective then for these things to kick off, but it's nice, you started getting engaged and had a positive, first contact. So we'll follow up with you, Maria, to know how it ends. And talking instead about Ash cycle, Diana already mentioned that one of recommendation that you gave to Vilma was on SEN workshop agreement. That's the new service that also HSbooster is supporting. You already told us something about SEN workshop agreement, Diana. I don't know if you want to say anything more to describe it.
Yes, of course, why not?
Yes, and then we'll ask Vilma what she's doing with the SEN workshop agreement.
Okay, thank you, Maria. As I said, one of my recommendations to Ash Cycle project was development of CVA, because generally CVA is agreement that is developed and approved within SEN workshop. Workshop has to be supported by Secretariat from SEN national member. And maybe the main advantage of SEN workshop agreement is that it is open to the direct participation of anyone with interest in development of the agreement. In practice, this means that initiator of the workshop can invite organization, companies, experts that want to join to workshop and contribute to its realization. Also, there is no geographical limit on participation. Participants may be from outside Europe. And maybe additional advantage of CVA is that participants who were involved in the development of document later participate in its approval. And this allows the procedure to be completed quickly and consensus to be reached easily. Duration of the development procedure and publication of CVA lasts between 10 and 12 months, which is very, very attractive for research and innovation projects which have to deliver results within the limited duration of their project. And at the end, once published CVA can be transformed into European standards or technical specification by initiative any of SEN national member at any time during the 6 years. And at the end, just to conclude that development of CVA is really rapid way to standardization of the project results because it can be quickly developed. It can be used as a fast track to future standardization activities, And it can be attractive when you have to deliver results within the limited duration of the project lifetime.
Thanks, Diana. So we hope after also your speech, other people are interested in exploring this this type of tool. And Vilma, now I'll gladly ask you to tell us what you've done in terms of SEN workshop agreement with HScycle.
Okay. First, once again, to Diana to help us with this. So if I go a bit back, during the summer last year, we started this discussion. Diana presented all this extension of existing standards or TC specification. This is also interesting for us, but right now this is too long term. It will be after the end of the project. Maybe technical specification could fit, but we need to first get results from the project because we're at the beginning of the project. For technical specification, you need really a lot of data. This is something we might apply later on at the end of the project, but CVA, it's really fast. So when we were discussing this, we were checking also SenseAnalec pages, and during the summer, they initiated one CVA on large piloting. And we realize this is also something what we are doing in HScycle. So because we will perform a pilot scale production of different products, then we decided why not to join to this initiative. So we have joined. We had meeting once per month for 2 hours. In between, we work on the document. The people from technical committees from DIN helped with everything what is needed from administrative side. So and this CVA is now practically almost in final stage. We believe in April or May it will be published. So, and it will be of help to anyone who perform piloting of different products, either pharmaceutical or building industry or so on. But simultaneously to this, we discussed within our consortium that we would like to initiate also, let's say, our own CVA, because we work on development of methodology, how to quantify sequestration potential of different ashes or different materials. Sequestration means that some material binds CO2 from environment and stored it permanently in form of carbonates. And this is now very actual, and we were developing methodology and methods. So we will apply to develop it through SenseAnalec as SEN workshop on agreement. And then we, as you said, we will invite also people from outside. And what it's very good is that it will take 10 to maybe 12 months. At the end, this can be transferred into pre-standards and so on. So if the people or researcher along the Europe will use this form, then we can also count that it will be supported by national committees and it can go into standards. So this is something we're really enthusiastic about.
Thanks a lot, Vilma. So as you said, HScycle is at the moment undergoing this process. It will take some months, but we also want to give you a picture of someone that has ended this process, and has achieved to complete a SEN workshop agreement. So that's why I now give the floor to Tanya Marcos from UNE. Tanya, you are working you worked, let's say, in a EU project, Value Waste, that already completed this process. So it would be nice if you could share with us very briefly the story of this SEN workshop agreement and what you did.
Yes, thank you very much. Well, the project was called Value Waste, and it already finished, and it has the aim to solve the issue of organic waste in cities. The title was Unlocking the New Value from Urban Bio-Waste, and the project had to explore methods for collecting the organic waste and its treatment by different means with anaerobic digestion and so, and to the very end to valorize the urban waste to prevent its disposal in landfills. So that we could recover the fertilizers, nutrients, and ingredients for food and feed as well. So it was very challenging, and when it already had included the idea of standardization work, we had a part within the work package on regulatory framework, EU policy and standardization and other policies. And we try to do our best, the most possible to identify the existing standardization where we could give some inputs because of our activity, but also to create something new. We had to contribute to the standardization world. And we realized it was really, really complex. And at the end, because we had a lot of deliverables that were not public, that were confidential. That's something that usually happens with the project. And some of the solutions were very complex. And at the end, they have all the IPR issues that members were quite reluctant to share. We could have made a standard based on that, avoiding the copyright problems, but it was not a good option for them. So at the end, what we realized was that not only for the benefit of the products that were developed with this project, the different lines, but also for the sister projects that were under this group with the circular bioeconomy, it was a good thing to standardize the starting point. And so we proposed a 10 workshop to develop this CWA on the key factors for the successful implementation of urban biowaste selective collection schemes, how to get the best of the effort of the citizens to make this selective collection, and then to talk about the citizen engagement and talk about how to get the best quality with minimal presence of those fractions that were non-good for the further processing and valorization processes that will deal to those business case. So we turn it upside down, and the Commission really liked the proposal, and the CWA was delivered in 8 months. It was everything was prepared, and finally the publication was a bit delayed because of holiday seasons and things like those. But the experience was really, really good. And now I'm engaged in the Neo Giant project, that is the power of grape extracts and with antimicrobial and antioxidant properties to prevent the use of antibiotics in farm animals. And we are again facing a lot of issues with the copyright, the intellectual property rights, confidential deliverables. And yes, we identify those technical committees already working on biotechnology, for example, and we could contribute to that. But if we want to make our best to new standardization, we need to ensure that compatibility and interoperability with what already exists. And we need to use the standardization system as a tool for disseminating the project. And because we are a partner on the project, we will propose to create this 10 workshop. And again, try to develop this pre-standardization work, the CWA. But still, we are under defining the content. But I wanted to share this experience that it can be done and is quite fast. And what we need is the commitment of at least one or two partners that are the most related to the work to be done. Because again, the problem is bring the partners in the consortia to the standardization field. It's not just to say, well, I feel comfortable using this or those standards. It's, if we want to produce something new, even when it's going to be just for a short effort, it's 6 months, 8 months, 9, and it's done, and you will have the support for the secretariat of the workshop, you need a leadership. You need someone to convene the meetings, and you need also the technical point of view. So you really need the help of your partners.
Thanks, Tanya. I think you also made, a very clever decision with the CWA to standardize a section like that methodology in the beginning that could be more transversal and useful for projects in other fields. So that's very nice. Before coming to the conclusion of the panel and, leave the floor to other initiatives of HSbooster, I wanted to now spend a few words with Diana about the other service I mentioned in the beginning. That's the deep dive series of workshops we are piloting very recently, this series of events. And Diana, you are doing this with a specific cluster of projects. So if you can, in a few minutes, tell us the work that you're doing with these upcoming events, it will be very helpful for the audience. So thanks, Diana, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Maria. Well, it's very interesting to hear all these good experience and knowledge exchange between projects and partners and standard experts. Because with what we are doing now with Network Nature, the challenge is a little bit different because Network Nature is a cluster of 76 projects. So we have a lot of partners involved. Network Nature addresses specifically nature-based solutions, which is very interdisciplinary. So the challenge is macro. So we had to start from somewhere. So we developed the following strategy. We created a 3-part strategy. So first, we will develop a workshop that we will present in different contexts, but a workshop that mainly will raise awareness about standards. Because among the network, there are partners who have no idea, never heard of standardization. Some of them that maybe they know, but not sure, and then some that are already involved. And then the second part will be a workshop focused on knowledge exchange. So for those partners or projects who are more interested in pursuing standardization, we will try to understand within their specific work area and research area, what do they think is a priority? So that could be a priority also when it comes to standardization, or so that they feel more motivated and engaged with TCs or working groups that are already developing standards in that area. And then the third workshop will be for those who are actually interested in getting more involved and go forward with the different examples we heard that it's possible. So new standard, the CWA, the liaison, and all of that. So we will try to explore all those avenues for those who want to pursue. And of course, throughout the whole process, the one-on-one consultation is always available, at least throughout HSbooster up until September. And yeah, and we hope it's a successful engagement. But yeah, it's very challenging and very interesting, and especially because nature-based solutions, it's such an important area that needs to be boosted, truly boosted. And standardization can be very helpful in guiding different sectors, different TCs to push this topic forward and make it happen with everybody's expertise. And again, as Tanya was saying, commitment and leadership are the two key elements on this, because expertise, we know that is there for sure, but pull everything together, make it go forward, and then the results showing up, that's the real challenge. But it's very, very interesting and very important. So I would encourage everybody to use this this wonderful opportunity that HSbooster is providing.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Diana, and let us know when Network Nature starts with the events, because I think it's also useful that we, disseminate the opportunity to attend to any project that may be interested, even outside, the cluster for whom the event was initially conceived for. I also feel that you and also Tanya, before you and other speakers, already gave some sort of, final recommendation or a highlight takeaway. But just to really conclude the panel, I would like to ask again to the speakers in 30 seconds, if there is anything else, recommendation or suggestion or whatever that you like the audience to take, and so we wrap up this session. So let me ask specifically maybe to one representative per type of service. So I'd like to ask Marga, you were involved mostly in the traditional service, so what's your final takeaway? Really 30 seconds.
Okay, 30 seconds. Thank you, Maria. So, yeah, I would say to the audience that your feedback really matters. So we would kindly ask all the projects which are engaged in these standardization activities and using the HSbooster services to provide us with some feedback. I mean, how it went in terms of implementing the recommendations, and particularly which were the main difficulties and blockers in the process. That will really help us in order to improve the services. Many thanks.
Great, thanks. I agree with you, and I'm gonna write in the chat that you can send any feedback to our email info@hsbooster.eu. Then I'd like to hear again from Tanya. Any final thoughts?
Well, my advice, in-depthly, you need to standardize and try also not to just focus on your project. Think further, think about that big view, think out of the box and try to connect, if possible, with other projects and try to link with the best of the intention of the Commission with that funding, because that's what they will value at the very end. And also, think that we have already standards for many different fields, from sustainable development goals to very technological issues. So it may be possible to find something that really fits on your project, and it will then you put your seed on that and make a difference.
Thanks, Tanya. So last expert again. Diana and also Diana, both. If you want to say any final recommendation, the floor is yours.
Maybe I just want to say to all project participants here today, don't give up, because standardization is really long administrative procedure, but you need to pass through because the results are really variable at the end. Don't give up, because you will have enough time, and start with CVA.
Thanks. Great. I don't know, Diana, if you want to say some final words as well.
Yeah, I would like to also give some words of encouragement, just to say that standardization can be an important deliverable to include among the many other types of deliverables that usually projects already preview, because it's very important to push your work field or research field forward. So you're offering guidance and orientation for it to be implemented for many kinds of different stakeholders in many different countries. And that's it, and that can be very valuable.
Thank you. Thank you, Diana, and thanks to all the speakers in the panel. I'd like to ask also the people in the audience, experts or projects who want to share their review, their comments, their suggestions, to write in the chat. Don't feel shy, use the chat. And while we collect any other feedback, I pass the floor to the other section of the event that's presenting the standards orientation tool. So René, you're there. I see you. Welcome. René developed the tool, so I think you have some slides that you can share and you can show the audience what you did there. Thanks.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot for inviting me to this special event today. I'm more than happy. I'm not at the beach, but I didn't find another nice background. But I hope this is fine for everybody to feel a bit summer-like in this hard winter times. I'm going to share my slides in just a second. So can you see them well?
Yes.
Yeah, perfect. Great. Thanks a lot. So as said, it's an honor to present for you the standards orientation tool, which is available on the website of the HSbooster project website. I just want to, before I start, shortly give a agenda for the presentation. I have divided into 5 items. So like in the beginning, what is actually the standards orientation tool? It's a new wording with a new abbreviation, and as you maybe a bit familiar with translation, we always use abbreviations. So we do have another one, which is now SOT for standards orientation tool. And the second question is, why do I present actually the tool and not somebody else? This third one is a bit more like also kind of summary, what I've heard from my previous speakers, and that about the topic how to integrate actually translation research projects, because I'm doing my PhD on this topic at the same time. And then I give a direct example how actually the standards orientation tool look like, and the most important takeaways. I'm going to start directly with the tool. It's nice that Maria said that I was responsible for developing the tool. I have supported the development of the tool, not completely, but I have supported it with also with the colleagues of Danish Standards there. And this is a tool by the projects for the research projects to design informed translation strategies. It is an online tool consisting of providing project-specific input and getting a set of advices. It's kind of initial version now because this kind of tool has not existed so far. And some of you maybe know that there's a European code of practice on translation for researchers. And I think this is kind of a nice tool to go in the authorization phase of these more strategic tools. Just like to mention a few benefits of this tool. It supports to address translation already within the proposal writing phase. So you actually can learn something about translation. You can learn how to address translation in a research project. You can also get some information with some links and so on how to conduct these activities and get some practical examples for this. And as mentioned before, it's really a practical implementation of the European Commission Code of Practice on Translation for Researchers. Related to the HSbooster service, I would say it has 3 different like benefits. It first of all, for the projects that they can do it in the very beginning to conduct this standards orientation tool of the service, to get a bit more aware of what kind of activities are possible. it could also be used directly by the HSbooster experts to somehow check and validate their advices. I have seen or I've heard now in the last half an hour all the great examples of the experts which have been supporting the research projects. But sometimes it might be possible that there's one item you are not aware of because translation system is quite a broad topic. So this could also support the experts to provide the advice. Then there is the third item is like to get also general support from the HSbooster without expert consultation. So in general to say like having not a specific background, for example, on a specific project theme, but having a general item, for example, how to identify standards of interest, how to start establish a liaison, for example, and how to develop a sandbox agreement. Then the second question was, why do I present this standards orientation tool? And this standardization orientation tool, I supported directly the project in developing this tool based on my doctorate research. I am doing currently my doctorate at Tecnun in San Sebastian in Spain on the integration of standardization in research projects. There I have, I come to the second slide on this a bit more on this topic. At the same time, I have another hat on, which is actually at DIN, the German Institute for Standardization. I'm there as responsible for the smart city topic there. I'm leading the smart city standards forum. And this also was my field of investigation to focus on the topic of smart and resilient cities. I have participated in a lot of framework partnership projects and have more than 10 years of experience in, you see like for examples of research projects where I've participated, but there are several more. Furthermore, I have coordinated the Bridget 2 project, which is long said bridging the gap between research and standardization. So this was a European Commission funded project where the standardization bodies got support to be able to support research projects in their integration of standardization, and also like to directly support the research innovators, for example, to provide raising awareness events and so on. All the results of this project you can find on this nice developed webpage standards+innovation.eu, and yeah, that's so far. So the third question was how to actually integrate standardization in research projects, and there like to bit analyze and to know why it comes to this standards orientation tool and all the content which is provided there. In principle, I have assessed 4 city related EU-funded H2020 projects and defined and described the relevant standardization steps there. Which the basis of all this is the SMR project. It's called Smart Mature Resilience. It was conducted in 2015 to 2018. And it was declared as a success story by the European Commission because also of the standardization activities which have been conducted there. We had enough resources in this project to conduct a lot of activities. We have in total 3 sandbox agreements developed. We have commented on draft standards. We did a liaison with standardization technical committees. And also what was quite important there, we have written down the lessons learned and the standardization activities in a set of 5 deliverables. We did a lot of conference presentations and also provided standardization flyers. So we actually tried a lot of things out what could be used for standardization in the projects. This then was improved and verified by 3 other projects, ARC on city resilience for cultural heritage, then Smart Together, which is focusing on smart city topic, and Impulse, which was focusing on public services in cities. And then furthermore, part of the 4 city-related projects, we have or have coordinated the ISO-funded research project to identify support to standards application, which was one of the topics actually cities asking to us, saying like, okay, it's good to have the standard, but how to actually start applying it, because not all people are aware on how to start doing so. And there, in this regard, we have developed 7 elements to support the application of standards at city level. Just like to get a short summary of this, these are the 5 steps, which are also then part of the standards orientation tool mentioned in the different advices. The first one is analyze the state of the art in standardization, where you get where you assess knowledge of standardization in the project, identify the standardization activities of relevance, and disseminate and use the identified standards among the project partners. The second one is identify end user needs and standardization potentials, where the needs are compared with the envisaged project results. And the potentials which identified are also assessed by different criteria. The third one is actually afterwards, after we know, for example, a project has 10 standardization potentials, then we need to know, okay, which path I have to do or can conduct. So we, in this defining project standardization strategy, it's important to actually assess the options to contribute to standardization. We have heard in the previous presentations there are different pathways to do so. Then the contribution has to be planned because the project has a certain duration. So after 3 years, usually the project is over. So you cannot use the efforts of the project partners after this period. So it's quite important to take this into consideration. Then also it's important to liaise with the standardization committees, to do partnerships with them, to interact with them in a continuous way. When actually conducting the standardization activities, it's important to do this in an end user focused way. So like bring the target of this of the envisaged standard in the main goal of these activities. And finally, which is also important, which we have seen in the last projects, especially because usually the projects have been finalizing the standard at the very end of the last months, maybe of the project, and then there was no time actually to disseminate it. And as we know, if the project is over, usually the resources are also over to this. So that's the reason why it's important actually to promote and explore the standardization activities, to present them at conferences, also to present them at standardization committees, to maybe support the uplift of a sandbox agreement into a national or international standard. And that said, every project is unique, and so also is the respective approach to standardization within the project. And coming shortly to the elements before I then present a standards orientation tool, there are 7 elements as said before. I just put them shortly here. We have, for example, it's important to have awareness of the standard, to actually know about it, to have also the context to other standards or to regulation, to know about the process, who participate actually in this standardization process, in the development of the standard, to have the resources for the application of the standard, wise financial, technical, and human resources. To get also some support, could be organizational support, could be some projects, competence centers, and so on, who could directly support the city in applying a standard. And also it could be content-related support. Could be from the, for example, from ISO or whatever, can prepare some training or workshops on a specific standard. Also, which the stakeholders participating in this research answered, is it's important to show the experiences within the implementation of the standard. So to have some case studies, the benefits, and to show actually who is the user of the standard. And finally, also the dissemination of visibility, to check what kind of methods to bring the standard to the target groups, maybe also focus on different parts of a standard and put maybe also standards as references in some regulations. Did we have assessed what are the most important ones, what are the most relevant ones? You can see here some kind of explanation, which have been rated as highly relevant. And also who should take care actually of these activities. If we say, okay, these are the elements to support the application, who should actually do it? Should it be the city itself, like for example here mentioned by the most people for the resources of the application of the standard, or should it be the standardization body, as mentioned before, conducting, for example, training on a specific standard, or should it be maybe a supporting organization, like an immediate organization which is supporting the city in their activities on a specific topic? So coming to my third item, how actually does the standards orientation tool look like? Here you can see some screenshots for this. I have decided to put it here on the screen because it does make it easier not to fill in all the details when I'm putting it in. But in principle, I just short introduction to this. In the very beginning, you provide information on the there's information provided on the 5 standardization steps mentioned before. You have then to put personal information and project information. You are mentioning the TRL level, the technology readiness level of your project, and I can already say if this TRL is higher, then you usually get more advices for standardization. Then the standardization knowledge topic is in the aspects and knowledge is a third item here that will be asked. There you will ask it about your general knowledge about standardization, so as general aspects in on a research level, on the technology readiness level mentioned before, and also the standardization related aspects in your project. Then you get a set of advices based on the provided information, and also you get tools and links to support the conduction of each advice. So going to introduction, I just go through now. I have written it down, or I've completed this standards orientation tool and just show how it works. And at first you have these 5 steps, which I've mentioned before. Then you provide your personal information, what kind of organization type you are, and the gender and country and so on. Afterwards, you provide information on your project, the grant agreement number, the project acronym, the full project name, and the website. Here are only some examples related to the booster project, for example. And afterwards, going to check the readiness level. So what kind of readiness level has your project? I have chosen now the B, the applied research, which is TL level 4 and 5, or 4 or 5. Then continuing, going to this standardization aspects and knowledge. There, as said before, you mention what is actually your knowledge in the project on standardization. You always have 3 different topics. The first one is like you have no or very little information about standards and the standardization process and so on. The second one, which I have put here or like did across there, is that you have some intermediate knowledge, and the last one is you have advanced knowledge, so you really know how the standardization system works and so on. So on this basis, you also get the advices afterwards. Then, as mentioned, the advice are not only mentioned about related about your level of knowledge on standardization, but also on the aspects of your project in regard to standardization and in general. The first one is aspects on research level. There you have the chance of multiple choice answering. I have only put, for example, here one that my project is ready for validation or testing, and can be used for demonstrating the results in the use case. And standardization related aspects in the research level, for example, is that I or my project partners believe that our project has several potentials for standardization. You can save this. You can also go back. That's quite good, like to change your answers and to also to try something out to see some different advices in the end. But in principle, you can do use the multiple choice button to put several contexts here directly. Then the advice is the most important part of it, what you get out of this tool, standards orientation tool. You have an advice report, which in this case is based on 5 advices, which you can then pushing it up and then, for example, here the first advice that you should improve your knowledge about standards and standardization, which is a bit related to my standardization knowledge level, which I have put before, which is intermediate but not full knowledge on this. Then that second advice is summarize the need of change in standards. The third advice is you can establish a liaison with the standardization committee. And the fourth one is develop a workshop agreement. And the fifth one is apply for HSbooster Premier Service, for example, to get more information. Just go back to the third advice. You see here, for example, a reference in the very end to directives, which are putting a bit more information on how this establishment of a liaison is taking place. And the Sense-like Guide 25, which is completely explaining all the different partnership or possibilities between a project, for example, with a standardization committee. So The good thing is also if you put them there on the export link on the left, you get a complete version of the standards orientation tool with all the results and all the information you provided there. You get also, apart from this 5 advices, also the 5 advices of which we suggest to conduct in every project, which is based on my research, which I've conducted in my doctorate. And yes, this is from this, and going directly to the end, just important takeaways. The standards orientation tool is based on extensive research across a number of EU-funded research projects. I can tell you that the SMR project was conducted between 2015 2018, and my research, my PhD, I've started in late 2018, 2019. So it's 5 years already old, and this year I can finish. I'm really happy about this as well. The 5 standardization steps should be considered together in order to achieve successful standardization activities and the results. This is something which we have also identified through our verification of the methodology. And the standards orientation to follows a flexible and simple approach to getting advice on standardization activities for research projects in less than 50 minutes, because I have put it yesterday, and even reading all the different items there, it can be really done in a short time, which is, I guess, for every project doable, I would say. And that's also my last advice on the very end. Just try it out and give feedback on improvements. As said, it's the first version, and Danish standards, who are like the main body behind this development, which I've supported here in this regard, are more than happy to get your comments for improvements. Thanks a lot.
Thank
And
you.
here
Thank
my
you very
contact
much.
details.
Thank you very much, René. Your presentation, I think, was very helpful and effective. Some people asked if we can save this as a tutorial. We will, and we will upload it maybe, in the website, in the section where we talk about the SOT, the Standards Orientation Tool. We had 4 people, at least, that I saw before that filled in the tool while you were speaking. So thanks to them. And to everyone else, please, continue using it so we can get your feedback and share it with Signe, Dansk, and René to improve it. Thanks, Caterini, for your feedback as well. So René, I think you're staying here in case some questions come for the SOT. In the meantime, we have the final 15 minutes of the event, and we'd like to present to you a new resource we're working on, especially DCU, our partner, is working on this. So it's my pleasure to welcome now Harsh Pandit from DCU to present the standards catalog. So Harsh, you can share your screen and go ahead. Thanks.
Thank you, Maria. While I share my screen, hi everyone, my name is Harsh. I'm an assistant professor at Dublin University, Ireland. Maria, can you confirm you can see my screen okay?
Yes, we can. Thanks.
Perfect. So I think we're a bit pressed for time, and as Maria explained, this is a new resource that we are creating. So I can try and wrap it up very quickly so we have time for discussions. So the general idea of the standards catalog is that we are working with a lot of standards. The projects come to the HSbooster service either with some idea of a standard, or they discover standards through the project, as well as we get experts who recommend or who are involved in various standardization activities. So this is where we try and keep track of all of these things, and we see what trends emerge, what can we learn from the way that we are dealing with standards. So the catalog itself is to ensure, first of all, the consistency of results and standards impact to the projects. So in the sense that we learn more about standardization processes, we learn more about how the projects are using or coming across standards. And based on that, we can develop a standardization strategy. So for example, if we identify that a lot of projects are specifically looking at management standards or are looking for standards that are auditable, we can try and fine tune this or the next services to give more information about these type of standards or the way they are being used. We can try and identify relevant standardization experts for seeing either a need for a specific domain or a specific topic. And in this way, we make sure that the projects get the best value or best benefit from HSbooster as well as the experts. From the experts' perspective, we identify that this is a standardization area which is very, very relevant and very important for standards because they use this a lot, or that this is an area where they do not have an expert. So we can foresee such needs and try and identify experts so that if a standards related project does come across, we are ready to provide them with the service. Similarly, we try and identify liaisons or relationships with standardization bodies. For example, projects that come in with standardization potential, that they have outputs that they want to contribute to standardization, we can collate all these different activities based on the same standards group, based on the same technical body, and this makes it easier to recommend them to a particular area of work, such as at ISO or Sense and LEC, or to get in touch with national bodies and say, all of these projects are working on a similar area, and then you can organize an event or have all of their activities pooled into a very specific standard, which is upcoming or a new area of standardization. So all of this are basically learning activities. They are impacts that we hope to achieve through the project. And the standards catalog is a way to keep track of them. So the way we have set about at the moment to create this is that at the start, the projects have some questions where they give us information. And then based on that, we try and identify how and where they are using standards, whether they are already using standards or that they're going to identify specific standards. So all of this is documented. So you can see that there's some preliminary metrics because the project is still ongoing. So through this material, we identify all these different mentions of standards and standardization processes, and we keep a formal document of the project associated with that standard or standardization activities. Then we try and identify whether there's any collaboration or the collaboration has already happened or exists with a national standards body or a technical committee within a standardization group. So we know that these projects or these relevant experts are already in touch with the national standards body, and through them, they're already aware or participating in one or more standardization activities. So by listing all of this, we then make recommendations based on what areas do we think need specific attention, or where do we think we need more experts, or where do we think we need more standards meetings to have engagements with the project as well as national standards bodies. So the last point here is that 20 of them were focused on standardization strategy and involved with communication and coordination. So this is an example of how the standards catalog helps in that we have 20 such examples where people did manage to coordinate their standards activity, did manage to get in touch with a relevant technical committee or standards committee based on the identified group of standards. So to give you an example of how this looks like in practice, it's simply a spreadsheet, if you will, where we keep track of different projects and the specific standards they're using. We try and identify what technology or domain the project is in, as well as what technology or domain the standard is in. What is the relevant technical committee? So what's the best way to look at the project's work as well as the relevant standard? And that's usually through this technical committee at the standards body, which will not only have that particular standard, but which will also be producing other relevant standards that the project can look at, or where the results from the project can be fed into. We try and identify the last update to the standard, so as to recognize whether there's a potential new standard in development, because standards will get updated every now and then. And finally, we also look at whether these standards have been adopted as European standards or not. So this could be either through Sense and like adopting an ISO standard or through the harmonized standard mechanism. So through this, we basically inform or understand how many of these standards support European projects but are not yet accepted through the European standardization mechanism. So all of this information gives us very concrete data and idea to say that, okay, this is where standards are heavily influenced through projects, or these are the kind of standards that projects find useful, as well as this is the gap between international standards as well as European standards. And that gives very valuable information to the Commission as well as the national standards body, who can use this to identify relevant project outputs as well as the experts, as well as what standards they think are relevant to become European standards in the future. To give you some examples of the challenges in this activity, we find that projects do not explicitly mention all the standards. Sometimes they will mention only one standard out of the whole group. For example, they might mention only 27001, which is about information security, even though they might be using a lot of the other ones, but they use one standard as the example or the broad topic for everything that they're doing. or they may mention the entire technical committee to say a group of standards involved with that technical committee's topic, such as SC27 Working Group 5, which I'm involved in, will deal with information security. So the catalog also has to keep track of all of these references and try and use them and interpret them in a way that enables us to do this rich analysis of how the work is influencing the European standards bodies, as well as what does this mean in practice when standards use a lot of the same standards, when projects use a lot of the same standards over and over again across different projects. So next step then would be to identify, okay, how do we best provide more expertise, more information about these standards, which seem to be very popular. So the current analysis is that we have some standards, and you can see the data here is that they are very varied. And some of them are very specific standards. So the one on the left-hand side at the top is a very specific ISO 34001, whereas elsewhere you will also find that people mention technical committees such as Technical Committee 411 to 49, or even standards such as HFHIR, which is a health data standard, which is technically not European or ISO standard, but is more of a domain-specific regulation. So the challenge is also keeping track of all of these different mentions, getting them in a standardized manner, and then mapping them to European standards, mapping them to the every 5-year review that tends to happen, as well as whether this is acceptable under the EU norms or not. And all of this data then gets fed back to people who analyze standards, people who work with standards, or people who want to identify potential updates to standards based on whether a project has contributed or added or developed something in relation to the standard or not. So future work is to continue these improvements, to monitor how standards are being used by projects, to find a way that we can create this catalog in a better manner. And we need to specifically see which of these have been enabled through the HSbooster service. So what did HSbooster enable or help the projects achieve? Was it that they didn't know about any standard at all? And then the standard was relevant because of HSbooster, so that the catalog is also helpful to keep track of that. And the last 3 and 4 points are more about policy, which is that if there are a lot of projects relevant to a particular area of standards, then this requires further resources and expertise, for example, to set up a working group for projects involved in the standardization area. To give you an example, a lot of the health-related calls will identify health-related standards. So to pool all of these projects together, either through a webinar or through this particular national standards body, so as to give them more information about standards or how to contribute to standardization opportunities. And through this, we also aim to identify how HSbooster itself can support future projects and what needs to be improved in all the processes that we have that were discussed before. So that's it from me. Back to you, Maria.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Harsh. I saw some comments in the chat. One question was whether this repository is already publicly available, and it's not because we are still finalizing it, but I think it will by the end of the project for sure. And then there was a suggestion from Ilona on another mapping that they're doing in a specific field. Maybe we can have a look at it, Harsh, and see whether this can be referenced somehow or complemented in HSbooster catalog. So I think it's time to wrap up. It's almost 4. I thank everyone who joined as a speaker, as a panelist, or in the audience for your questions, comments, and your interventions. I hope this was useful for progressing with the activities. And as I said in the beginning, this is being recorded. We'll put the slides and the video by end of this week in HSbooster website. And for any questions, comments, or whatever you may have, feel free to reach to the speakers of today and also to us at the info@hsbooster.eu mail that I also wrote in the chat earlier. Thank you everyone again, and have a good afternoon.